If I go back to 3 or 4 years ago, I was getting on some of the biggest stages in the world. I was speaking next to some of the most successful entrepreneurs on the planet. John Mackey, the CEO of Whole Foods, Tony Robbins, Joe Polish, Robin Sharma. It was incredible. However, all that activity, all that attention didn't really yield a lot of results. It's because I wasn't measuring where I felt momentum.
I'm Alex Sharfin, and this is the Momentum Podcast, made for empire builders, game changers, trailblazers, shot takers, record breakers, world makers, and creators of all kinds. Those among us who can't turn it off and don't know why anyone would want to. We challenge complacency, destroy apathy, and we are obsessed with creating momentum so we can roll over bureaucracy and make our greatest contribution. Sure, we pay attention to their rules, but only so that we can bend them, break them, then rewrite them around our own will. We don't accept our destiny, we define it. We don't understand defeat because you only lose if you stop, and we don't know how. While the rest of the world strives for average and clings desperately to the status quo, we are the minority, the few, who are willing to hallucinate there could be a better future, and instead of just daydreaming of what could be, we endure the vulnerability and exposure it takes to make it real. We are the evolutionary hunters, clearly the most important people in the world, because entrepreneurs are the only source of consistent, positive human evolution, and we always will be.
I'll be candid with you. I've tried to record this podcast probably 3 or 4 times in the past several months. And each time I've started to record it, I get about a third of the way through and I'm like, forget it. I don't want to do this because it's hard to share the pain and anguish and the vulnerable feeling of having tons of activity, but without getting any results. And I was there. It was just a few years ago. I was speaking on some of the biggest stages. I was getting a ton of attention. I was getting accolade from the people around me. They were telling me how great I was doing, how impressed they were. And I wasn't really consistently selling anything, and I wasn't really making any type of an impact other than going out and making a speech and leaving, which left people wanting more and left them frustrated and confused. And this is a pretty unique situation. I was able to come up with some really intense information called the entrepreneurial personality type. And I was out sharing it, and I wanted the whole world to know it, and I wanted everyone to know what I had figured out and what I had found. But I wasn't measuring anything that showed that I was actually getting any type of positive result. I was feeling my calendar. I was seeing the direction I was going in. I was seeing all the events I was getting asked to speak in. But what I really became at all of those events, to be honest with you, was just window dressing. I wasn't selling anything. I wasn't creating relationships with people. I wasn't really making a permanent change. I used to tell myself I was. A friend of mine, Jason Fladline, said, Alex is the only person who can cause entrepreneurs to change behavior in a 1-hour keynote. So I would say, I'm making a difference. I'm changing behavior. But the reality was I would go out and I would do presentations and people would be completely excited about them. And then they would say, hey, what do I do next? And there was nothing there. I wasn't measuring the right things. I wasn't saying, how do I convert this into something? How do I continue to help? How do I make this more successful? How do I actually create a result here? The problem was I was confusing the activity and the attention, not intention, but the attention I was getting with momentum. I was feeling productive, but I wasn't really being productive. And it wasn't until I got up one morning and really started looking at things and figuring out what was going on. And I realized I need to apply my own content and start measuring if I'm actually making an impact. And if you want to be in momentum, you've heard me say this before, you have to have 3 things: a clear outcome, clear accountability, and a scoreboard that matters. And 3 or 4 years ago, I didn't have that. I didn't have a clear outcome. My outcome was go from one event to another and try and figure out what the opportunity possibly could be. I didn't have clear accountability. I was speaking. I knew where I had to show up. It substituted for accountability, but I didn't know what I needed to do to get to a clear outcome, and there was no scoreboard. It was like, scoreboard's like I got a standing ovation or I got invited to another event. But I wasn't producing, creating, building, creating the foundation of anything. And it was incredibly challenging. And at the same time, I was experiencing some of the highest highs of my career, speaking on stage with some of the most incredible people in history. I was also more confused and more frustrated than I have ever been. If you've been there, I want you to know I've been there and you're not alone. if you're there right now, if you're creating the activity, if you're doing the stuff, if you're not actually getting into momentum, let me help you. Here's the issue. Here's why you have to measure your momentum. Here's why you have to get a scoreboard in place quickly. So first, figure out where you're going. Then get a scoreboard in place, because activity can feel productive. I felt productive when I was going out and speaking. I felt productive when I was getting flown around the world to get in front of massive audiences. I felt productive when I was getting the attention, getting the accolade. It all felt productive, but measurement would have proven that it wasn't. That it wasn't productive. I was just going out. It was incidental events, and nothing was really being built. Nothing was being created. No long-term effect was actually there. It's incredibly challenging. And the other reason you want to measure momentum is if you want to go faster. Here's one of the challenges. If you want to go fast, if you really want to go fast as an entrepreneur, you can feel like measurement slows you down. Taking the time to count, to stop, to see what's going on, to get perspective, it feels like it slows you down. And as a result, a lot of entrepreneurs don't measure. But here's the challenge. Measurement will actually speed things up. Measurement will actually get you into momentum. Measurement will show you that you can verify your perspective that you're in momentum and you're actually creating a result. And here's what I know from having been there. When you're not measuring, you can talk yourself into momentum. I know that's hard for me to even say out loud, to be honest with you, but I did. I talked myself into momentum. I talked myself into I was creating a result. I talked myself into I was actually doing something. I remember one of the most revealing conversations I ever had was in 2017, early in the year. I was with Russell Brunson, and we were at Pirates Cove, and he pulled me aside and he said, you know, man, you've gotten a ton of attention from the entrepreneurial personality type. I think it's the best content I've ever seen for entrepreneurs. I remember when Russell said that, I was like, holy crap. And then he said, so tell me what you're doing with it. And I explained to him, you know, I had done some presentations, I had done some speaking, I'd done a lot of one-on-one consulting. And so I explained it to him. And at the end, he said, yeah, so you're not really selling anything, are you? And I told him, yeah, not really, Russell. Like it's all reputation. It's nothing to do with what I really want to do now. And I remember in that moment thinking, like, there's no way I can talk myself into momentum anymore. Like Russell just stripped it away completely and made it real. And then he gave me some advice on what I should do. And part of that advice was definitely to actually create something that you can measure and make it real. And that's why we have the business that we have today. You know, right after that meeting with Russell, I released our podcast, which had verifiable numbers. We could see we were building an audience. Then we released our coaching programs, which almost immediately started gaining members. And within a very short time, we were at $1 million a year run rate. We're now at just about a $2 million a year run rate. So we've completely shifted and changed. We even had a month where we hit very close to a $3 million a year run rate. And so here's one of the things that happens to entrepreneurs is our fear is if I measure, I'm not going to have the progress I want. If I put measurement in place, it's going to slow everything down. If I just go as fast and hard as I can, I'll get there. But we actually have to understand that measurement proves you're moving forward. Measurement can feel overwhelming and constraining, but the fact is, we just had people come to the house, so I was interrupted. I had to pause the recording, but I'm going to finish this for you. So it's actually Emily Hirsch is here, who runs our ads and is running an incredible ads agency with her kids. So I'm going to go out and play with them. But I want to finish this for you because here's what I was just saying, that people feel like measurement can feel overwhelming and constraining and slow you down. But here's the flip. Here's the reality. Here's the paradigm shift I found is that measurement gives you momentum. You need 3 things to be in momentum: a clear outcome, a clear understanding of what you need to do, and a clear scoreboard that shows you whether you're moving forward or not. So here are some critical measurements that you should have in your business right now if you don't. Start measuring your critical number in your business. For us, our critical number is how many coaching clients we have. I know how many coaching clients we have as of Friday because we look at it every single morning. We had 66 in our coaching programs. If you aren't measuring, you're not in momentum. I want you to know, if you're not measuring, you're just not going to get there. So critical number, then measure your revenue and measure your net worth. I'll be candid. Back then when all that stuff was going on and we weren't selling and we weren't creating progress and it felt good, but it really wasn't, I wasn't looking at my numbers as often as I should have. I was avoiding my numbers. I was avoiding them because I knew they would show me that I wasn't really doing anything. And in retrospect, I know that. I know that I wasted years of my life not even looking at numbers. And today it frustrates me to the point where I'm mad at that past self. I have to forgive myself. And I'm sharing this with you so you don't have to do that. Because when you measure and confirm your momentum, everything in your life will change. And measurement protects you, it protects your family, and it protects your team. So if you haven't started yet, measure your momentum. Confirm that it's real. Make sure the perspective you have is what's happening in real life, and you will see everything in your business change. If you're ready to create clear outcomes, clear accountability, and measurement across the board in your organization, let us help you. Let us help you scale and grow your business the same way we're scaling and growing ours. The same way Emily, who's in the next room, has gone from 1 million just about 14 months ago to what we think is going to be 3 million this month. You can do the same. Go to billionairecode.com, fill out this short application, and set up a call with a member of my team. Let us show you where your business is now, where you really want it to go, and what's in the way of you getting there. We will help you with a plan to get into momentum and stay there. billionairecode.com, fill out the application. We look forward to hearing from you.